Sight fishing for bass with creature baits within the estuaries. This is a real hot topic at the moment and something that I know a lot of anglers out there would love to get to grips with. Therefore, in this two-part series of videos, I'm going to offer some ideas and provide some suggestions on what to do to not only increase your chances of observing these amazing fish, but also give you some advice on what to do should you see these fish either out in the open or within a little bit more cover. Sight fishing for bass then, and for me personally, this has been one of the most exciting ways in which I've learned how to catch these amazing fish over the last couple of years. It really has, and it could appeal to the beginner, intermediate, or a very experienced angler who's just never tried it. And I do appreciate that this won't appeal to everybody. So if you're watching this video, you're either very interested in learning how to do this, or maybe you've seen the thumbnail and it's just piqued your interest. But couple of things really. I would say in observing these fish, whether you catch one or you don't, if you're observing their behaviour and how they react to a lure, that can only make you a better bass lure angler. I really do believe that. And I think in actually catching one, the confidence it actually gives you going forward when you're fishing for these fish blind, which, let's be honest, is probably 97-98% of the time, depending on where you fish and how you fish, you know, going forward, that's going to really help you as an angler. So I hope that this two-part series helps you in that respect. So increasing your chances of actually spotting, sighting, observing a bass then, and some of these things might be really obvious, some might not be. The first thing I would say is I would always stay out of the water if possible. So whether that's whether you're casting and moving to position in bass, or whether you're stood in one spot trying to intercept the patrolling bass, I think if you stay out of the water, then you know you're going to mitigate the chances of the fish knowing that you're there, because even the slightest bit of shuffling of your feet, the casting, all that kind of stuff, you know, anything that you do that's going to potentially reveal your presence you know, in their domain is never going to be good. So I would stay out of the water is the first thing. Not only would I stay out of the water, I would say whether you're fishing in water that's 6 inches deep or 6 feet deep, I would try and stay 2 meters away from the water's edge. I think if you can add a little bit of elevation to that as well, then that's going to definitely increase your chances of actually seeing, you know, into the water and just seeing what they're doing, where they're moving around. And trust me, you will very often see these fish completely out in the open, out over pure sand, pure mud, you know, as well as in amongst the weed clumps and, you know, real thick sets of weed as well. So there's something that might not be so obvious, is I would always wear a hat, a cap with a good peak on it. I'd always wear Polaroid or polarized sunglasses, you know, as good as the ones as you could possibly get. And also dark clothing. I think the more you can blend into the background, the better, really. You might have seen on a previous video, I've got a hat, Western hat with a red cap and a white top. Now, I do not wear that hat if I'm going out sight fishing for bass, because I did wear it a couple of times and I am convinced that when I moved my head or did something, that the bass did definitely see me. So there's a few ways there that I think you can definitely increase your chances of observing these bass. So what to do then if you see a bass out in the open? In the next video, part 2, I'm going to cover my approach when you can see a bass that's sat in amongst the weeds, what I would do then. All right, but this is what to do in my experience so far. Should you see a bass out in the open, and when I say in the open, I actually mean just literally sat right in front of you, which, as you saw in the clip earlier on in the video, that can happen quite a lot. There'll be other times when you'll observe bass that are just rising and sort of taking down gulps of tiny shrimp and fry and stuff like that. But this is more if you literally stumble across a bass out in the open. The first thing I would do is stop dead. And then the second thing is you don't want to be giving it, you know, casts like that. You literally want to be moving the rod and the line and as little as possible. So very often it's an underarm flick. So if it's not something that you ordinarily practice, I would highly recommend doing that. And if you see the bass just moving slightly, again, this is just purely my experience so far, is I would attempt to bring the lure across its path or cast in behind it and try and make it turn. So if it's literally just sat in front of you, I think you want to be trying to place the lure across its nose, and I would keep the rod really low. And that way then you'll find that the line and the trace is close to the seabed, and I think it's less, well, more difficult, shall we say, for them to observe. So that would be a definite tip. I think as well, if you bring it across its path, so let's just say you saw a bass sat on the bottom, you cast in, I think you want to be looking to place the lure 4 or 5 meters away from them, especially if it's in very clear water. And you know, so you're not trying to plonk it on its head, you're just trying to put it about 4 or 5 meters away from them and then move it across their path, again, through experience, as quickly as possible. And this is where I honestly believe that whether you're using, you know, a 2-foot leader or a 10-foot leader, I don't really think it matters. I honestly think that if you can make them see it and react to it, that is the key to this. It really is. And you know, I've caught far more bass that I haven't seen. Probably about 90% of the bass that I've caught on the creature baits, and in particular the sleeper crawl, 90% of the fish that I've caught have been caught blind, I would say. The other 10% that I've sighted. But a lot of the fish that I've caught fishing blind, I've cast into areas that are extremely shallow in very, very clear water, and it could be a bright day or it could be cloudy or in the dark. And it is that splash and that instant movement, so it hits the bottom and you start moving it straight away. In terms of speed, I would say 1 meter a second. So like 1, 2, it's traveled that distance, and then pause it and then move it again. You could even just keep moving it. And you know, in this situation, when a bass is just sat there in front of you and you've seen it, you've probably got a 1 in 3 chance of catching that fish. Now, you could increase your odds by using a much smaller lure, a much lighter lure than a sleeper crawl. And that's something that I'm going to be experimenting with. It's something that my second guy Joe has started doing as well. For the minute, I'm still pretty happy with, if I see one, a 1 in 3 strike rate, I'm pretty happy with that. And like I say, based on the amount of fish that I've caught and I've helped my clients to catch by casting and retrieving it quickly as soon as it hits the bottom and doing it fishing blind, that for me, I don't think it makes much of a difference whether you're using 19-pound fluorocarbon leader or that's 3 meters long, or whether you're using 6-pound fluorocarbon that's 20 meters long. I just think it's that movement of the lure, and if they make up their mind they're going for it, I don't think very often they turn it down. Once they're steaming in on it, I don't think they turn it down. I think it's just when you cast in, the splash either repels them or attracts them, and I think that movement, that quick movement, they either jump on it or they don't.